Hey guys, this is David from I Am Vanguard. It's been a while. Been occupied. Had stuff to do, and I think the main thing was like I really couldn't really find any video topics that I can really talk about in the channel. But decided to maybe shoot up a few videos, maybe once a week. Again, uh, been having some extra time. And of course, I mean I still been playing Vanguard pretty actively. Just been busy with with teams, playing in tournaments, participating, uh, such as that. So I decided that this video might be a very good way to, kind of get back into the YouTubing for Vanguard, just because I feel like that as a topic, as you see, is the change of the meta. So about 2.5, or well, like a year and a half, the meta was very rush heavy, such as right after like this is like when Gear Chronicles was tier 0 with the Melon combo, but it was like Royal Paladins with the Rush, with the Swordmies and the Benons, with Sankard. Ripples was definitely good for like 2 months, 3 months. Very rush heavy. Also 7Cs was the thing. Blasters, Battle Sisters, and such were very all rush heavy decks during the past year and a half or 2 years or so. So I definitely felt like that. There was really not much to talk about in the game because I mean rush is very self-explanatory. You know, you just poop, attack, um, guard manipulations such as that. So I mean you just go in and push for damage, and that's what rush is. But now that the meta's slowly moving over after the Rondo set that came out in December, and Kagerou's coming back with Destiny, definitely feel like the meta was slowly changing, and felt like that this is something I did want to talk about, and I definitely feel like that the Rondo set for Link Jokers was definitely the biggest change of slowly shifting in meta. Of course, like the leaders were still really good, and the leader is definitely a rush deck, but that the fact that they're slowly supporting more clans that control the board and such. And I mean, especially the set that just came out today, which is I don't know when the video is posted, but today's Friday when the Zoo set is officially released today. So I mean, that's one of the things that I realized that wow, this game's definitely slowing down. It's a really good occasion. So yeah, that's one of the meta changes that's going on. And of course, I went to Philly in last Saturday. Went to ARG in Richmond on Sunday and saw the results. And that's when Worlds were at, even though Blasters won, which is kind of funny. But definitely that you can kind of see in your locals or like bigger tournaments that Kagerou has been definitely overwhelming the meta this month. So, and I feel like that this is probably the way that we notice that, oh, the meta is changing. And I definitely wanted to go over some cards. I haven't memorized all the cards yet, but I have a trusty tablet that has all the effects and such. So I definitely want to go over maybe like 3 clans that's going to be really good for the next 2-3 months in the game. So I definitely think that if you guys think that, oh yeah, I kind of agree, definitely recommend picking up some decks that is control based, because that's how the meta is going to be for a while for those competitive players out there. I think the biggest thing that I saw in the control meta was Evo Governor Darkface Ghidorah. I definitely felt that Ghidorah is one of the bigger changes in the meta that um, you know is forcing the control to come out in every other deck. So for those of you guys that don't know, it's a Darkface support. Effect is Counterblast. When this unit is placed on the Vanguard, or when your unit strides over it, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose a column, and that the opponent can't call anything in that column. So not be able to call anything in the column is already big from my perspective, because for those decks that don't rush, can't use that column. Plus, as you know, Megacolonies have other strides that do that, but and then Ghidorah has a GB1 effect, which is Soul Blast, beginning of Rye phase. You may pay the cost. If you do, the opponent chooses a face-up card in their damage zone and put it face down, and you counter charge. So I think that that's pretty big. So basically, it's like counterblast stealing if you think about it. And I think a lot of rush heavy decks require counterblast later in the game, even such as like gold paladins or Aquaforce requires some counterblast. Like these decks all require counterblast, and if you think about it, that Ghidorah can just like block all these cards from using their counterblast to rush them. That's really control heavy, and the fact that they can't call anything in the one column, that's already very good, and it really keeps the opponent in check. So Ghidorah is definitely one of the big game changers from my perspective, and of course Lawless Mutant Deity is definitely one of the other cards that is right now going up in price like crazy, because now you can abuse it with Ghidorah. So its effect is Counterblast 2, choose a card from your hand and discard it. Your opponent cannot call his or her unit until the end of the opponent's next turn. So basically, like, swings, attacks for Counterblast 2 that, you know, you get back for free with Ghidorah, which is pretty good. Basically, the opponent can't call anything to attack. So basically, it's going to be very Vanguard-oriented. Decks are going to do really well against these type of decks. I definitely think that as or I can talk about this later, but there's a few decks that can probably counteract to it, but like, most of all, most decks can't do anything against this deck. So I definitely think that this deck is very overpowered. What's some other cards that I thought were good? Yeah, but Ghidorah is definitely good. There's a card called Overwhelm that came out as a GR in the Zoo set. Its effect is Counterblast 1, choose a face down G zone and turn it face up. Draw up to the same numbers the opponent has rest. So if the opponent has like 3 cards rested because they couldn't call the other column, the player still gets to draw 3 cards. And if the number of opponent's rearguard rested is 1 or less, they get an extra crit and a drive check. So it's like a Gancelot clone, which, like, you know, has been spreading out everywhere. Everyone has a Gancelot clone. Same with Kagerous, even have one. But yeah, this card's very good. And then Dark Device, Gem Break 3, all your units gets +2 power for each face down in the opponent's damage zone. So it gives power and you get card back, and then you can go Opiditis. The opponent can't call anything. That's already very control-based cards. Those are like the big 3 cards that I saw in Megacolonies. That's very effective. So this is a deck that a lot of people can keep a lookout on. Megacolony is definitely going to be the tier 1 deck of the meta for like about 2-3 months. And then of course this is the newest deck that is going to be around. One of the other decks I was looking into was definitely Chaos Breaker, especially after Rondo set. Like Crisis is really good. On stride, counterblast, lock 1, and the end phase, like, just kill one of them without paying a cost. So you can use your soul and your counterblast for something else. Or your soul for something else. So that's definitely really good from my perspective. And they have a card announced called Chaos Close. Chaos Close's effect on Vanguard Circle. Choose a Starvader from your hand. Discard it when this unit is placed on the Vanguard. When your G unit Starvader is striding on top. Either one of those situations, you may pay the cost, which is discard. If you do Soul Charge 1, the opponent chooses a rearguard and retire it. So I mean the Vanguard, or you get to choose one of your opponent's rearguard and retire it. So it's like the OG Chaos without the counterblast, which is pretty solid, from my opinion. But I think it's the secondary effect that makes Chaos Close really good. I think I might have edited it so it's like right there. So there should be a picture right there. But second effect is when it's discarded and if you have a heart with Chaos. So basically on stride turn, basically. Soul Blast 1, if you do, opponent chooses a card from the hand and put it down to your rearguard lock. Like, they can choose anywhere. So that's like really good, because basically you're negging the opponent and negging a board. So, or like negging a column, basically, just by forcing them to put a card down. So I think Chaos Close is definitely ridiculous from my perspective, and it's going to be one of the bigger cards in the set that is really going to take over or help in the control meta. I was testing it out yesterday. It's pretty good. I do need to fix some lineups, but I'll definitely keep you guys posted on that. And then last of all, I do want to talk about, I mean, Chaos is the same. They still run Universe. Deluge, Crisis. I mean, Chaos is pretty much the same, but their biggest update is Chaos Close. So I think Chaos Close is very, 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 very good. So it's gonna be very interesting meta with that. And then last of all, I definitely think that Kagerou is gonna be tier 1 for a while, just because like they're very heavy on controlling the opponent's board. Plus, they have a few cards like Destiny's really good because it gets over resist and lock. So I feel like that Destiny does play over Link Jokers, and it can play around Megacolonies as well. Soul Blast on when this unit is placed. This Destiny's effect actually. When this is placed on the Vanguard or beginning of ride phase, if you do, choose any circle in the other than the Vanguard and then retire it, or put in the drop zone. So it's not even retire. So resist can't be effective because you're just blowing up the circle, which is pretty good. And then Cannon Blast 1, when this unit fries, pay the cost, look at top 7, and then get an Overlord and put it here. So you retire your unit, and then you get a card, potentially Overlord, which definitely combos with the card called the Purge. The Purge is really very solid. You put an Overlord to the Soul, and you can give an opponent damage if they're 5 or less. Or 4 or less, sorry. This is very good because you're forcing out damage, and the trigger is nullified as well, or any effects. So the opponent can't even. It's like a Nouvelle if you think about it, but like it's very good because it's very easy to pull off. And then Generation GB3. If the opponent, like when you attack, you can drive check the same amount of numbers that the opponent has in the damage. So this is very good late game. Even in early game, just push damage, but I think this is very good late game, because if the opponent stays at 5 or 4, you get 4 drive checks or 5 drive checks. So I know that in Worlds, like there was like a whole bunch of Overlords, same with ARG, Philly, everyone was playing Overlord, and just the fact that they can spam drive checking and keeping cards in their hand was really, really hard to get over, from my perspective. So I think that Overlord, just with that, and then of course, like some of the Ziegenberg is really good. It's just free attacks that you can do for free. So Ziegenberg is definitely keep lookout on that deck. So those are the top 3 decks, and some of the cards that go well with the deck and that kind of forces out the control meta. So those are the top 3 decks from my head that I feel like is going to be very control heavy for the next 2-3 months. So definitely keep a lookout. There's a few. I think it's pretty much done. But there's definitely some dark horses that I feel like that can still, play around these top 3 decks. Of course, list 1 is gonna be not blasters because chaos is still a thing. But I definitely think that the leaders can still do some things. I think that the leader is still good just because, like, especially in Generation Break, like, it's very good because the opponent cannot use their on-stride abilities already good, and you're forcing out damage really early before they go into Generation Break, and they start controlling the board, such as like Ghidorah, Chaos, Kagerou. Those decks will be definitely hurt a little by the leaders from my perspective, especially with the Given combo on early rush is very good. I've been playing the leaders for the 2 tournaments, or 2-3 tournaments. It's very good. Especially the set before set 13 was announced, the leader was tier 1 actually, which is really funny because it was very broken. And I think that the Given combo with the early rush still will affect one of these control metas. And I think that the leaders can kind of sneak in their wins in pretty easily. So the leaders is definitely something to look out for. And then of course, like, there's still a lot of decks that's not announced from set 14, so I'm just gonna go with my predictions that Gears, they already got some card announced online at the Worlds, and you definitely saw that Chrono Jet Z is definitely gonna be very good. I think it's something that we can keep a lookout on, especially like the fact that they can start striding for free, and then they got a new stride that gives you another turn. You can gear next again, and they have 3 restandards still. So even if they get their board stunned, locked, whatever not, they can still go for 3 extra attacks. And definitely they have a really good match against Kagerou. So definitely keep a lookout on that. So So Gears is definitely another good deck. That's pretty cheap right now, so definitely recommending that if you guys want to try to counter against the meta, Gears is not a bad idea from my perspective. And then one more deck I was thinking was probably Luard. I think that the new Luard stuff, Dragfall is really good. You can kind of start retiring the opponent's board. I think it was Dragabyss. Dragabyss is very good as well. I don't have it on my tablet, unfortunately, so I can't really go over the effects as much, but I just know that they have a lot more board control. So I definitely feel like that. And plus, they have their perfect guards that you can keep spamming and getting to your hand. And, as you know, Luard is a very defensive deck, so I think that defensive decks can go pretty well against like these control type decks. So I'm definitely keeping a lookout on Luard. As you know, Luard is like one of the most expensive decks for a reason. So definitely keep an eye on that. The time is passing by about 15 minutes now, so I am definitely going to try to wrap this up. But yeah, those are pretty much my reviews on some of the meta changes and the decks that I feel like is upcoming. So definitely keep a lookout on that. And I think I'm definitely going to start my channel at least once a week. I'm going to have some videos up. So if you guys are still subscribers, you guys can keep a lookout. Hopefully I can try to do some skits. I do want to get a better camera though, because I lost my camcorder. So that's the other reason why I couldn't be really filming a lot more recently. But yeah. But like always, guys, comment, rate, subscribe down below. And of course, subscribe to some of the stuff I'm tagging down below. And like always, guys, imagine the victory. I am Vanguard. Make sure you guys watch one of my previous videos on the left and the right. And of course, subscribe to I am Vanguard. Thanks for watching, guys.